The first sign something was wrong came in the middle of dinner. My sister, Emma, leaned across the table with that smug little smirk she always wore when she thought she was about to drop a bomb. "So, how long are we going to pretend Dad's not hiding something?" The fork froze in my hand. My mom's eyes went wide, and my dad's jaw tightened so hard I thought he might crack a tooth. The whole room fell silent except for the ticking of the old clock in the dining room. "What are you talking about?" my mom snapped, trying to laugh it off. But Emma just tilted her head, eyes glittering like she knew she had us all cornered. I knew my sister loved stirring chaos, but the way my dad wouldn't meet anyone's eyes, that was different. That was fear. Emma leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. "Come on, Dad. You really thought we wouldn't find out? The late nights, the phone calls, the receipts you left in your car. Do you think we're stupid?" My mom's face drained of color. "Receipts? What receipts?" That's when Emma pulled out her phone and started scrolling with deliberate slowness, like she was savoring every second of this ambush. Hotel charges, dinners for two, flowers, I could go on. My dad slammed his fist on the table so hard the silverware jumped. "Enough! You don't know what you're talking about." But his voice cracked at the end, and that was all it took. The room was already unraveling. My mom stood up so quickly her chair screeched across the floor. "Is this true?" she demanded, her voice shaking but loud. My dad tried to hold her gaze, but his eyes flicked down just for a second. It was enough. My mom's hand flew to her mouth like she might be sick. Emma crossed her arms tighter, her voice dripping with vindication. "I told you. He's been lying to us for months." I just sat there frozen, heart pounding in my ears. It was supposed to be a normal family dinner, and now it felt like the walls were collapsing around us. The shouting started almost instantly. My mom's voice rose, broken and raw, demanding answers he wouldn't give. My dad kept insisting Emma was exaggerating, twisting things, but every word out of his mouth only made him look guiltier. Finally, Mom slammed her palm on the table. "Then, show me your phone. Right now." The color drained from Dad's face. He muttered something about privacy, about not being treated like a criminal in his own house, but it was useless. Everyone could see it. If he had nothing to hide, he wouldn't hesitate. Emma shot me a look across the table, eyebrows raised like "See? I told you so." I hated that she was enjoying this, but I hated even more that she wasn't wrong. Dad stormed off, disappearing into his office and slamming the door behind him. The house trembled with the force of it. My mom collapsed into her chair, hands trembling as she reached for her glass of wine. "I can't believe this," she whispered, eyes glazed. "All these years." Emma didn't soften, she just rolled her eyes. "You should believe it. He's been sloppy for months. I was just waiting for the right time to bring it up." That made me snap. "You were waiting. Emma, this isn't some game. You just blew up our family dinner like it's a reality show finale." My voice shook with anger, but under it was fear. Fear that she'd been right to wait, because the truth was even uglier than I wanted to admit. Silence settled again, but it wasn't peaceful. It was thick, suffocating. I could hear my dad pacing in the other room, heavy steps back and forth like a caged animal. My mom sat frozen, staring into nothing. Finally she whispered, "I need to know, one way or another." Before I could stop her, she stood and walked toward his office. The door was locked, but she started pounding on it, shouting his name. Her voice cracked with each word. And then, from inside, we all heard the unmistakable sound of glass shattering. We rushed to the office door. Mom was still pounding, shouting his name over and over, but there was no response, just the crunch of broken glass under his footsteps. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. "Dad, open the door," I yelled, rattling the handle. Nothing. Emma pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police," she said flatly, like this was just another performance. But her hands were shaking too, I saw it. Finally, the lock clicked. The door opened just a crack and Dad stood there. His face was red, eyes wild, a half-empty bottle of whiskey dangling from one hand. The other hand clenched around something he clearly didn't want us to see. "What the hell is going on?" Mom demanded, trying to push past him. He blocked her path, staggering slightly. "It's not what you think," he muttered, voice low, almost pleading. But then the light caught the object in his fist, and my blood ran cold. It was his phone, the screen spiderwebbed with cracks. He'd smashed it. Emma hissed, "You destroyed the evidence. Wow, classy move." Dad shot her a glare that could have cut steel. "You don't understand, you don't know what you're talking about." But his voice wasn't convincing anymore. It was desperate, unraveling. Mom stepped back, tears streaming now. "If there was nothing to hide, you wouldn't do this. God, how long has it been? How long have you been lying to me?" Dad tried to reach for her, but she pulled away like his touch burned. The whiskey bottle tipped, spilling across the carpet, the smell stinging the air. Emma whispered under her breath, "Knew it." She wasn't even smug anymore, just cold. I stood frozen in the doorway, my family crumbling in front of me. For years, Dad had been the unshakable one, the center of everything. Now he looked small, broken, and yet something in his eyes told me the worst was still coming. Dad finally dropped into his chair, the broken phone clattering onto the desk. He buried his face in his hands, shoulders shaking, not from tears, but from rage barely held in check. "I gave this family everything," he growled through clenched teeth. "And this is how you treat me. Like some criminal." Mom's voice cracked as she snapped back. "You are acting like one. What else am I supposed to think when you're sneaking around and smashing evidence?" The room vibrated with silence after that. Even Emma didn't dare add fuel. For the first time I realized this wasn't just about cheating. There was more, something darker. Emma crossed her arms, her voice sharp but trembling underneath. "If you've got something to say, say it. Stop hiding." Dad lifted his head slowly, eyes bloodshot. He stared right at her, then at me, like weighing how much damage the truth could do. Finally, he spat out, "You think you've uncovered some scandal. You don't even know the half of it." My mom staggered back a step. "What does that mean?" His lips curled into a bitter half-smile. "You think those receipts were about another woman. You're all so naive." The air went out of the room. Emma's smirk faded, her arms dropping to her sides. Mom's hand trembled as she gripped the doorframe for balance. "Then what the hell were they for?" I finally blurted out. My voice echoed too loudly in the cramped office. Dad leaned back, swirling the bottle in his hand like it was nothing. His eyes locked on me, cold and unblinking. "For business," he said. "Business you'll wish you never asked about." Emma scoffed, trying to reclaim her bravado. "Business? What, you're running some secret side hustle with hotel suites and roses? Give me a break." But Dad didn't even flinch. He set the whiskey down, leaned forward, and lowered his voice. "You think I wanted this? You think I chose it? The company's been bleeding money for years. I covered it up. I met with people you don't want to know about." Mom's breath hitched. "What kind of people?" Dad's silence was louder than any answer. His hands tightened into fists, knuckles white. That was when I realized Emma might have uncovered something, but she hadn't uncovered the real secret. The tension snapped like a wire. Mom stumbled back, clutching her chest. "You know, tell me you didn't drag us into something illegal." Dad shot up from the chair, eyes blazing. "I did what I had to do, to keep this family afloat, to make sure you all had a life worth living." Emma's face twisted with disbelief. "By selling us out? By what, laundering money, taking bribes?" She practically spat the words. Dad's jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. That silence was confirmation enough. My stomach dropped. Suddenly, the affair theory felt almost comforting compared to the monster of a truth looming in front of us. The room was chaos. Mom sobbing, Emma shouting, Dad pacing like a cornered animal. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Finally, I forced myself to speak. "If what you're saying is true, you've put us all in danger. Do you even realize that?" He stopped dead, turned, and locked eyes with me. The fire in his gaze chilled me to the bone. "You don't understand," he said softly, too softly. "They don't just let you walk away." Emma's mouth fell open. "They? Who the hell is they?" Dad didn't answer right away. He rubbed his temples like the weight of the world was pressing down on him. Finally, he muttered, "People who don't forgive mistakes, people who don't like loose ends." The words hit me like ice water. Loose ends. We weren't just dealing with some office scandal or family betrayal anymore. This sounded like something out of a crime show, but the way his voice cracked told me it was very, very real. Mom whispered, barely audible, "Oh my God, you've dragged us into this." Dad's phone buzzed suddenly on the desk, the shattered screen still lit up faintly. A message flashed across it, though the cracks distorted the words. Still, I could make out enough. Payment delayed. "This is your last warning," Emma gasped. "Jesus Christ, Dad," he snatched up the phone, shoving it in his pocket. "Stay out of this, it's not your problem." "Not our problem," I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. "You've been lying to us for months, maybe years, and now whoever these people are, they're coming after you, which means they're coming after us too." For the first time, Dad didn't argue. He just looked away. And that silence was worse than anything he could have said. The house felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Mom was crying quietly, Emma pacing, me frozen in place. Dad just stood there, gripping the bottle like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. Finally, Emma broke the silence. "We need to go to the police." Dad's head snapped up, eyes wild. "No, absolutely not. You have no idea what that would do. They'd find out. They'd retaliate." His voice dropped to a whisper, trembling now. "You don't know what these people are capable of." And in that moment I believed him. The rest of the night blurred into fragments, raised voices, shattered trust, and that suffocating fear hanging over all of us. Mom wanted to pack her bags, Emma wanted to call the cops, and I just wanted answers. But Dad wasn't giving any more. He sat slumped in his chair, staring at the floor, repeating the same words, "I'll handle it, I'll handle it." His voice was hollow, like he was trying to convince himself. When I finally went upstairs, I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe Emma's bombshell hadn't destroyed the family. Maybe Dad had already done that a long time ago. We were just finally seeing the cracks. I didn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every hum of a car outside made my heart jump. By morning, Dad was gone. His car missing from the driveway, his office stripped bare of anything useful. Just a broken phone on the desk, dead and useless now. Mom sat at the kitchen table with a blank stare, Emma pacing like a caged animal. Nobody knew where he went or who he was going to meet. All we knew was that the truth had finally spilled out, and it was worse than any of us imagined. I don't know if he'll ever come back or if the people he owed will let him. But one thing's for certain, that night wasn't just the end of a family dinner. It was the end of the family we thought we had. And the scariest part, something tells me this story isn't over.